Thumbs up to the crowd, Derek. To Suit Jack, and he's like, "I got a gift for you," and he's like, "That's my watch." Yes, it is. It was just such a funny sequence.
We're
Welcome
going, Peace.
Back.
Oh, really?
Yes, Peace.
Music piece?
No music?
Well, there's going to be
Peace.
intro music playing until it's going to stop right now.
Welcome back to Speaking Sporadically, the podcast.
Doing a warhead like normal.
What is episode 68? 67? 66?
Ding ding.
I
Luke's
thought-
good with numbers.
Very good with numbers. Business major over here. Very good with numbers.
Yeah.
Come on.
Double six. This episode we got another guest. Was last episode with Jerry?
Yes.
So 2 guests in a row. Good friend Derek. Good friend, long time of ours.
He's your
He
cousin?
actually, him and Jason hopped on the podcast a long time ago for like quick second, like 5 minutes at the end of a podcast.
Yep, like 5 seconds.
Yeah, it was way
It was probably
short.
like in the teens, maybe 20s.
Yes, because I think Felix was on that day.
Yeah,
It was like 17.
I left. Me and Isaiah left for work at Amelia's, and them two hopped on.
Yeah, they hopped on real quick. So technically you've heard his voice, but here he is. You guys can see him.
See him?
Hello.
Give him a little thumbs up to the crowd, Derek.
That's abuse. That's just rude.
Rude. Yeah, it was pretty funny, though.
File for
Workplace.
No. What's
harassment?
Oh, I guess this is
Slander.
workplace. Yeah, is
Is
that
this
what
a
it's called?
workplace?
Slander. There's another word for it. Malice, right?
No.
No, it's
yeah,
not
it's
it.
like slander
Like what-
or...
I
Oh,
know
I
what you're
don't know.
talking
I didn't
about.
pass
It's a
English.
constitutional. No, it's we learned.
Oh, I'm
AP
thinking of
Gov.
like there's a term like on social media when someone like embarrasses you.
like harassment.
Libel?
No,
No.
it might be.
Yeah.
It might be.
No, that's not it. Oh, man, I should know it.
It's like
Because Amber Heard just sued... Or
Yes.
Johnny Depp just sued Amber Heard for
yeah,
that.
like slander is one, but there's another name for it, and it's basically like
it's a better name for it.
online when you embarrass
Harassment,
someone or
yeah.
force someone to do something,
I know what
and
you're talking
And
about.
it's
but-
not true, and it
yeah,
costs them money.
Yeah, and then you sue them to get money for emotional damage that it caused you and stuff.
Yeah.
which-
Yeah.
Right.
So
But
yeah,
I'll probably think of it like halfway through and just blurt it out, but
we'll
you know
know.
what it's going to be.
But this podcast episode, we actually have something planned for one of the first times. A little piece of paper here.
we know it goes against who we are, but
It wasn't very sporadic, but
it's still cool.
sporadically
It's still
made
pretty
it,
cool.
so...
You
I
should,
guess.
if you are a normal human being, you should enjoy this.
yeah.
I know I will. Sherm's already spilled a lot of facts, statements,
Yeah, like just things
myths.
about this guy.
They sound like myths,
Yeah.
and they're crazy. And I've heard of them before. I'll let Sherm take over because this is kind of going to
Yeah.
be his segment.
So I guess I'm gonna talk a little bit, but if you guys have anything to say, because if I just read through this, it'll be real quick.
Yeah.
But if you
Real
guys have
boring.
anything to say, like interject
Absolutely
or
will.
anything like that. So, all of you guys probably heard of David Blaine before.
Yeah.
I've heard the name.
Crazy
Yeah.
That's
dude.
about it.
Most
I know
people
him.
know the name, but they don't know like so many of the things he does. So he's pretty well known for a show called Street Magic. It's kind of got where he got his claim to fame. But I got some like details about him, all right?
Oh, boy.
So he was born April 4th, 1973. So when he was born, he was an asthmatic. So that pretty much means he has a lower than average lung capacity. Despite being an asthmatic, which remember this because asthmatic are him having a lower lung capacity plays like a big role, sort of, kind of, or almost ironic. Despite this, by his teenage years, he broke Harry Houdini's breath hold record of 3 minutes and 30 seconds, which doesn't sound that long, but
That's a long time.
most people probably couldn't.
I get like 20 seconds.
Yeah.
Maybe
yeah.
20 to 30.
I get real flustered underwater. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I'm like whitewater rafting, I don't care. But like if I don't have to be underwater
Well,
for a long
your
time,
adrenaline's pumping when we
that's
do
probably
whitewater
true.
rafting.
Yeah.
Like, that's all.
yeah, I like to breathe. I guess.
Yeah,
Shocker.
I do too. Crazy.
So his first claim to fame, at the age of 23, he started his own TV show called Street Magic, where you may have seen a lot of clips from it. He would go to Compton and cool places like that and do card tricks or whatever. Some other things he would do is read minds, levitate, and pickpocket people. And that's kind of where he got his first claim to fame, just doing like normal magician stuff. So pretty chill. Got decent amount of money after that. But then he wanted to step it up a notch, and he kind of starting to want to do endurance testing. So at the age of 26, this man buried himself alive for 7 days and 7 nights in a coffin 6 foot underground with nothing but an access of water. And how he did it, instead of putting dirt or anything, he put a 3-ton water tank on top of himself
Very safe.
so that people could see inside. And he had a glass coffin so people could see inside and watch him.
Oh,
you
bro.
see out the glass coffin
Yeah,
too?
he could see out.
I wonder if that would help at all.
I think so.
He-
Rather than being like completely enclosed, just darkness, or even
Wait.
if you had like a light and it was just like a room
Yeah.
with no windows, like no change in scenery.
That'd be
It helped,
bad.
but still, like
You'd lose your damn mind.
yeah.
Yeah.
Even after 7 days with no food, coffin, you can't move. It's
Can't
not like
move.
you can get up
Like,
and
if
stretch
you're
your legs.
claustrophobic, you're a goner.
Yeah.
Like, imagine the thing I always think about: if he started like freaking out and like needed to get out and like he lost his mental edge, it took 2 hours to get him out.
Yeah.
Because they had to get a crane to lift this 3-ton water tank off of him just to get him out.
That would be terrifying.
That
Yeah.
would suck.
I'm claustrophobic as hell. So.
It reminds me of Total Drama Island. And like in the first season, the one character gets buried underground. Did anyone watch Total Drama Island
A
here?
little bit.
Yeah,
I know what
Is
it
that
is.
the animated show?
It's like it's animated.
Okay,
it's like
yeah.
animated, like
Survivor. Almost.
kind of like Survivor, but it's like based on teens at a
Yeah.
camp or whatever.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. It's Canadian, so
Yeah.
Okay.
but the one person got buried alive as like a fears challenge or whatever. Conquer your fears for points kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And then she was forgotten about. And she was underground for like an extra like half a day. It was funny.
Well, David actually wanted to do this because there was a big famous like during the Harry Houdini age, there was a magician that did bury himself alive, and he actually died down there, like because he buried himself with dirt, and they had no communication with him. So on day 4, he just died. When they dug him back up, he was just dead. And then David was like,
they did all that work to put him in.
"Yeah,
Realized he's dead. If he could have just stayed there, like, all right. Well,
Yeah,
he's fine.
really.
But they had
Well,
to dig it all back up. Like, oh dang, we got to put him back. We got to put him back, guys.
Guys, you got to go back. Oh wait, guess who just snapped the chat?
Trey."
Trey.
What do you say? Trey
He said
said
I fell asleep.
Of course,
Wow.
I
you
knew
did.
you
Go figure.
did. I
We all
knew
thought he did.
you did.
Trey said he was going to be here, so guess he might be showing up.
Yeah, which kind of sucks. It'd be cool. Trey could hear about all this,
Yeah.
but he'll just have to watch.
Yeah.
All right, so that's pretty good. Like 7 days, 7 nights, buried alive, whatever. A cool quote he did say. He said it was one of the coolest things because 75,000 people came and like saw him. So he pretty much said something like, "I've saw every race, every age group, every aspect of life came and saw me in some regards."
So I guess it's the only thing you can really think about when you're down there. So
Really. So the next year, the year after that, he did the Frozen in Time case, and he encased himself in a block of ice in the middle of Times Square for 63 hours with nothing but water. So like it was freezing, obviously, because he was in a block of ice. So he's in there for 63 hours. After he got out, it took him over 2 months to be able to walk again. It did that much damage to himself.
was it the hypothermia, or did he just
I'm surprised he didn't die from
like,
hypothermia.
lose
So the crazy
limbs?
Because hypothermia sets in within 10 minutes in below freezing water.
Yeah, he trained for months and months, just like freezing himself almost to death to be able to do this. And he had pants and like a hat and a long sleeve shirt on.
Yeah.
But
It
it's-
wouldn't do you much because once
Ice-
it's wet.
Well, ice is actually a great insulator, and it works really well compared to water. Like freezing water is way worse than because that's what igloos are made out of. And igloos, you can have fires on the inside, and they like stay
You'd be
there.
right.
And like the ice doesn't melt because it's. I know there's some science behind it where like the water on
Yeah.
the outside melts, and then that holds all the heat because we talked about how
then it
hard it is.
refreezes.
Yeah.
How hard?
specific
Yeah,
heat
it
and whatnot.
constantly refreezes, and how hard it is for water to raise temperature, how much energy that is. So like, there's just like a
Yeah,
layer.
I do wonder what
and it
the
kinda, like, stay
interior
there.
temperature was because it was
Yeah.
a fully encased, so it may
Like-
have been decently warm.
Like
in there.
I would imagine his body would like keep it to a manageable level. Like his
Yeah.
body temperature would like kind of be pumping
Pushing
it out.
it back up.
Yeah,
Yeah.
helping him out.
But
so it's not.
he was
has to
he was
be.
planning on going a lot longer, and he started hallucinating, like
Yeah.
losing his.
I've
marbles
heard about this.
bad.
Yeah, I definitely remember seeing stuff.
Yeah.
He had to stand the whole time too. It
Yeah,
wasn't,
yeah,
like,
he had to
sitting.
stand. There wasn't sitting room. The crazy part was like there was a manager on the outside that was like on his team that was supposed to not let him out in any other circumstances, like even if he was asking him to get out. And so they ended up cutting out a square to like ask him, like, "Do you want out?" And he's like, "Yeah, I want out." So they like chopped a little triangle in there and finally got him out. And it was 3 tons of oh no, that's
Was
for
this
the
like
other
the
thing.
middle of the winter in Manhattan? or Times Square?
I don't know.
When they do this?
It probably didn't matter, honestly.
I mean, the ice block lasted for 63 hours.
That's
That's a long time, I guess, but
it may have been decently cold out. The crowd kind of looked like they were well dressed when I was watching the scene of it, so
probably at least like fall.
Yeah. So the next year, so he recovers from all this, and he's like, all right, I got to step it up a little bit. The next year, he stood on top of a 100-foot tall pillar that was only 22 inches wide in the middle of New York. And after standing there for 36 hours with no food, no water, no sleep, obviously, he concluded the stunt by jumping off of the pillar onto a pile of cardboard boxes.
Nuh-uh.
So, like, a lot of injuries then.
Yeah. He got a serious concussion and broke like 4 or 5 of his ribs.
How high up you say it was?
100 foot.
Wow. That's that high.
That's a long
And they didn't
way.
even move the cardboard boxes until he was ready to jump. So if he just got sleepy and
Or
fell,
fell.
he died.
Wow. That's
Brother.
It's wild.
Brother. That ain't it.
Yeah. 1 year after this, David Blaine blew all of his other stunts out of the water. He suspended himself in a clear box on the London Tower Bridge in England. So he suspended himself in a clear box in England and stayed in the box for 44 days with only water. 44 days of no food.
Dude's
That goes
throwing life
against-
away doing stunts.
That goes against like everything I know.
Yeah.
It's supposed to be 30 days.
30 days. So he went 44 days, and he said there was like drones driving by with cheeseburgers and stuff trying to get him out, and people would like chant at him to try to get him out and stuff. But for 40, I mean, after 40 days, it almost becomes a regular thing. Like imagine driving to work and you're like, oh, there's David.
Yeah.
He's just chilling.
hanging out.
That would be crazy.
Like Sherm told me and Zer about this because we were talking the other day, and then we had the idea to do this whole segment, and we were all talking about like this is where it kicked in. Like, all right, I wonder if he's cheating us. Like, wonder if he has a secret way where he's getting some type of food or sustenance. Like he has an IV in somewhere that's
This-
pumping nutrients. Because
Or the water's got
44
protein
days,
in it.
Yeah, like
Yeah,
the
like-
water has something in it.
Yeah.
Like 44 days with no just water. Like that's against like everything I've
Again,
heard my whole life.
That's
Like
against
without food.
anything.
And this is where
You're
it gets
gone by then.
bonkers. So after he was released, his doctor was so convinced in some way that he had been cheating and like getting himself food, like Devin mentioned, somehow he had been cheating, that he administered an IV into David that was full of nutrients that the doctor had suspected had already been in his body on some way. When this IV was administered, this caused the phosphate levels in his blood to spike so dramatically that he almost died on the spot. Because he truly had none of the phosphate or any nutrients in your body that you needed.
It defies everything.
And then
Yeah, it
just
doesn't make sense.
It does
Just-
not make sense.
just weeks later, he co-authored an academic journal describing his feat of human endurance and his recovery with the very same doctor that almost killed him.
Jeez.
That's whack.
It's crazy. He comes closer to death with a doctor than the stupid stunts
Yeah.
he's
Yeah.
doing.
Yeah, really.
Like
People
here,
think
we're gonna
they
help
know.
you.
Almost dies.
Almost
Yeah.
dies.
Could you imagine if that's actually how he went, though?
That'd be terrible.
All the stunts he's doing.
Survived the
doctor's
44
like,
days.
That was my bad. I'm sorry.
Famous stuntman David Blaine dies from his idiot doctor.
You have to be cheating, dog. Oh, my
Nah, I ain't cheating no more, bro.
Dang.
That doctor's fired for sure.
Yeah.
Obviously
getting
not.
sued.
He wrote the paper with him.
No, I'm saying if he did that.
Yeah, I mean that's just bonkers. It was actually like really good research too on what the human body could think, and it's an important thing for like learning how to re-nutrize people, because actually a big thing after the like World War II was ending and they were helping all these people that were prisoners in Holocaust camps and whatnot. They would like give them food because obviously they're starving, and the people would eat so much food that their phosphate levels would spike and kill them.
Yeah.
They would gorge themselves and they just
Yeah.
die.
You got to work them into it. Just
Yeah.
like how if you find like stray, skinny dogs, you can't just give them a whole bunch of food
Yeah.
and just pump them up. You have to.
Work them into it.
Yeah.
I never really thought of that.
This research paper helped show a lot of that. All right. So after all of this, David decided to step things up a little bit. So he had already shown that how long he could survive without food and without water. Now it was to take one more important thing out of his environment. That was oxygen. And obviously, he said he already had a bag lung capacity to begin with. So the very substance he needs to like survive with, he decided he was going to try to get rid of that. So to start this off, Blaine spent 7 straight days and 7 nights submerged in a sphere of water. Obviously, he had like a breath tube and stuff. That's all he had. He had a breath tube, and then he was submerged in water. And this is actually the longest ever underwater submersion by any person in history ever recorded.
7
7
days,
days.
7
Yeah.
nights.
7 days, 7 nights.
It's a long time.
Yeah.
And he was in a sphere.
This was also like in public, a show.
Yeah, this was in New York again. So all these things are kind of like extravagantly set up, so people can see it and whatnot.
The only real reason I want to go to New York now.
Yeah.
David Blaine's
I don't even
doing
know how this
something?
man's still alive, honestly.
He's going to die early. Die young.
After 2 days, he started suffering severe organ failure,
I bet.
but
the pressure.
But he refused to get out. So he stayed in for 5 more days.
My kidneys are going, boys. I'm going to stick it out.
All right.
Then on the 7th day, he decided to attempt to go for the world record breath hold. So while handcuffed and chained down, so he literally could not physically leave the sphere, handcuffed and chained, he started going for the world record breath hold. And then after 7 minutes, he began to black out and like convulse and everything. So divers had to jump in, unchain him, and pull him out before he died.
And that was on the 7th day.
Yeah,
It's
that was
he
on
was
the
sitting a
7th day.
week underwater and then did it.
And then
Like,
he's like,
just
yeah,
like, yeah,
let's
let's
go
just
for
do
it.
it. No break.
Just sprinkles on top.
Yeah.
How badly was he like medically hurt?
Oh, I think he was probably bad, dude. They said he lost hands and his feeling for 10 to 15 days. Because you know how like pruny your hands get?
Oh yeah.
You should
After
have seen
5
this man's
minutes,
hands.
Mine
They
are already terrible.
Yeah, they were like crazy. And they said they were so like weak. Like you could do that with your fingernail and it would just cut it open. It would just like rip off all that skin.
Ugh.
And it was like shedding like a snake. It
Ew.
Yeah, that's disgusting.
was kind of disgusting, yeah.
Kinda. It is.
So after he didn't break the world record breath hold at that.
What is the world record breath
So-
hold at that moment?
At that moment, it was 8 minutes and 58 seconds. So he made it to only 7 minutes.
Only.
So it was. I listened to him talk about this in a TED Talk, and it was really funny because he's like, "Well, I tried to break the record and I couldn't do it." So then me and my team started talking about all the ways that I could cheat the record and like stage it, fake it, and then he started like flipping through pictures, and he's like, "So first thing, they tried to shove an oxygenating tube into one of my main arteries," and like showed a picture of a tube being shoved into his thigh, into like his femoral artery and connecting to that. And he's like, "Well, that almost caused me to bleed to death. So we decided that wasn't gonna work."
Not a good one.
I'm like, "Dang, all right." He's like, "The next thing, we wanted to shove oxygen directly into my like lungs." So they showed a video of them shoving like a big balloon and tubes into one of his lungs, and he was just like sitting there taking it like a champ, and they're putting this tube back, and he's like, "And then that almost popped one of my lungs, also causing me to almost die. So figured that wasn't gonna work." Then he goes, "Next, I was gonna try my hardest option, I was gonna try the most difficult option next. Actually training for it and holding my breath the whole time." So
He basically tries cheating and also almost dies.
yeah,
He
Probably safer to just like train for it and try to do it.
yeah.
and they showed a video of like them just putting the tube down his throat and like no flinch. It was watching this man like talking to TED Talk is so crazy because he was like funny at the most random moments, but you could tell he's a little
Not all there anymore.
almost fried. His brain just seems fried,
I mean,
mean,
go
he's
through all
done.
that. If,
Yeah.
if you're not, that's the most impressive thing.
and like major concussions and all that stuff. So after 2 years of training, he proceeded. So now he wanted to go for the pure O2 record. It's like breathing in pure oxygen
Sorry,
and trying to
there's
hold
an
his breath. Sorry, I'm actually I'm burping up my tea I just drank. Didn't go down right. All right, there we go. So after 2 years of training, and this training consisted of he would sleep in a Mount Everest tent, which is pretty much a tent that is like climbers will practice in. It has lower oxygen levels. He would sleep in that, and it was so funny when he was talking about it because he's like, "Yeah, you sleep in that for 8 hours. It's like 9% oxygen in the air." And then he's like, "You get out, your brain would be pretty fried. I'm not gonna lie." And then for the first hour he was awake every day, he would breathe for 8 minutes of the hour and hold his breath for 52 minutes. So pretty much he would wake up, get out of bed, and the first thing he would start doing is he would start purging, which is getting all the carbon monoxide out of or carbon dioxide out of your system. And then he would pretty much like pack his breath and hold his breath for 5.5 minutes, which is pretty good. Then he would go back, breathe for another 30 seconds, hold his breath for 5.5 minutes, and he'd just keep repeating that cycle until he got to 60 minutes.
Jesus.
And finally, he went for doing his breath hold on live on the Oprah Winfrey show. And the craziest part about when he was talking about the Oprah Winfrey show is doing it live is like when he would practice, his heartbeat would be around 40 beats per minute, which is not very much at all.
That's slow.
But that's really good if you're trying to like, conserve and not burn as much oxygen as possible. So he's on the Oprah Winfrey show, and they said they had a heart rate monitor right to his right, and he could hear it beating. And he got really good at counting his own heartbeat and everything. So he knew he was ahead. He was at like 110, 120, and then he felt it increasing every minute. And then he said he got to 8 minutes, and he felt a lot of pain like in his left side. So pretty much signs of cardiac arrest. And obviously this world record's a lot longer because it's pure O2. So he's at 8 minutes, and he feels himself kind of like blacking out. His heart's starting to have it's like arrhythmia or something.
Arrhythmia.
It's not beating. It's beating improperly.
Right.
And he said it increased, and then it started getting really weird, like going up. So he said he had 1 minute that was 150, then dropped down like 160, would go 110. And then he had a 40. So this is 40 beats per minute. Then he said on his 11th minute, his heart beated 9 times in a minute. He had 9 beats per minute of his heart over a minute.
How does that not kill you?
I don't know.
Yeah, that's
like
crazy.
Your one
blood is
beat every
standing
8
still.
seconds.
Your blood's standing still, basically.
Yeah, because like
It's literally not moving.
your heart beats, and then your blood just sits there for a little bit,
And just chills.
and then it get pushed along a little bit more.
Yeah.
Because your heart's basically gone at that point.
That's basically if a doctor were to come check you, they'd check you for 10 seconds and think you're dead.
Yeah.
No, they check you for less. Be like, yo, he's not here.
You gotta
Nothing.
like watching the heart rate monitor. It looks like it flatlines. It looks like he literally dies because it flatlines for like 8 seconds.
And then it bumps.
And whoop, like what? Flatlines for another 8 seconds. Bumps. Like, oh my god, this man is still alive somehow. That was on the 11th minute, and he ended up holding his breath for 17 minutes and 4 seconds
17
when they finally
minutes.
pulled him out.
And then that's the record.
Yeah, that's the record for
He
pure
almost
O2.
doubled it.
Well, this was like like I said, it was pure oxygen,
Oh, alright.
so it's kind of a different category.
What was it before that for pure O2?
So it was funny because it was an old standing record, and then the person that had the oxygen, just normal breath hold record at the time, figured out that he was training for it, so it was only at 15 minutes. So David's like, yeah, I can do 15 minutes in 5 seconds. Like, that's pretty easy. And then there's 2 guys started going for it when he got it. So someone broke it, put it to like 15:45. Then another guy broke it and put it all the way to 16:45. So like David, he's training, then he's like, Jesus, I have to do 2 more minutes. So it was at 16:45, and then he broke it all the way up to 17 minutes 4 seconds on live television.
It's a long segment. I bet Oprah just started talking, doing one of
Yeah.
his other segments.
Yeah.
Her other segments while this is going on. It's
Yeah.
just like a little
In the background, like
background. You get over there, David. Boop.
Yeah, just the.
Boop, boop.
You alive, bud? He said the hardest part was he would always, like how everyone would do the world record is you just lay on your back, like your back's on the water and your head's down because you don't have to move at all. But for television purposes, they wanted him standing up, so they chained his feet in at the bottom. They didn't like chain him in. He had like 2 loops that he had to stick his feet in. So then he said he was wasting additional oxygen using his muscles to try to keep him from falling out of it, because it's kind of hard when you're underwater to keep your feet in those loops and everything.
So he probably could have added like a minute.
Yeah, under perfect like situation and everything.
Okay, let me start it up.
Battery died. You guys probably guessed that,
We'll
though.
admit it. We were before this. We were talking about like, should we just say like camera difficulties, or we had a decent. Nah, Battery died. We'll be honest.
It's whatever.
So, but Jacob knows pretty
Yeah.
close where he's at, so we'll
So
pick back up.
pretty much, we kind of just wrapped up the story of him holding his breath for 17 minutes and 4 seconds. So now I have like a bunch of little small tidbits that he's able to do that I'm kind of just going to read through. All right, so pretty much, like I mentioned, how he could levitate. Like he had an ability to do an illusion to people that he could levitate so well that people truly believed him. And one famous clip he did it to Deion Sanders, and Deion just went ballistic. Like you could, it's funny. It's just his reaction, just running and stuff. You know, there's actually a funny clip. He does one trick to Kanye, and Kanye's with his 3 friends, and then he does the trick, and then Kanye's like, "Oh my God, you guys just broke they all freaked out and stuff, but they just like stood there and laughed, and Kanye's like, bro, we just broke every single stereotype in the book. We didn't even run away." That was pretty funny. That was a quote, so
That's funny.
can't target me on that, you know. So one other interesting thing he can do is like you may have seen this, but he can store frogs in his stomach
Yeah, I've seen
Yeah,
that.
for up to days, and then like on cue he can regurgitate these frogs.
Living, too.
Yeah, alive.
How do
And
they? Because
I know.
it's like stomach acid would
Yeah.
kill them
I don't
immediately.
understand it either. But if you see an X-ray, they only see like over here. So I don't know if he's just storing them in a.
Compartmentalize them.
Yeah, I don't know if he's storing him. And there's another thing he can do that is similar to that, and I'll get to that later in the list. But so he's able to shove an ice pick through both of his hand and his bicep without blood.
I've seen this on YouTubers' vlogs.
Yeah, it is
I'm not
very
sure.
uncomfortable to watch. So like, if you are sensitive to that type of stuff, I wouldn't recommend. But I mean, it's just something he can do. He's shot in 2 bullets into his mouth and survived.
Is he like catching him in his teeth or?
He had like some like foam thing in his mouth that it looked like it caught it. Like I watched a video,
How far away? Like
like
point
10 foot
blank
away,
or like
10 foot. So pretty much point blank. Yeah, just shot right into his mouth.
I mean,
Something was catching him because he just like took it like a champ, and I'm like, I didn't look into that one very much, but yeah,
Wild.
where'd you get all this info from though?
YouTube videos, his YouTube channel.
Oh,
He has like little self documentaries.
Pretty
hey,
reliable, I
we'll
think.
drop the link. Make sure to go follow. Check out Blaine on YouTube.
And then for 3 days, he continuously withstood 1 million volts of electricity while standing up.
No, what?
He had like a chainmail suit on, and just like, have you ever seen there's some Wizards movie? Do you know what I'm talking about?
Yes, Sorcerer's Apprentice.
Sorcerer's
that's a
Apprentice.
good
And
movie.
he like stands in that cage. It was pretty much like that type of gig was going on, but he was actually getting hit. And then he stood there getting drilled for 3 days.
That's nuts.
Yeah.
It's ridiculous.
This is one of the craziest ones. He sewed his own mouth together.
Yeah,
I've seen that.
Like needle and thread,
Just
sewed his 2 lips together.
How long did he leave it?
I mean, I'd assume he cut it off pretty soon after.
Yeah, I don't think it really matters. The
But
fact that
still,
he
the
just did
fact
it
that
and it
like
was sewed
he
together
withstood the pain to just shove a needle through both of his lips
Repeatedly.
a few
repeatedly.
times. Yeah.
That's disgusting.
Yeah.
It is.
This next one he did live on the
Oprah Winfrey Show?
no, not Oprah Winfrey. It was Cohen.
Cohen.
Conan.
Conan.
Yeah,
Conan.
Conan Night Show. So he drank a large amount, like a quarter gallon of kerosene, a deathly amount of kerosene into his stomach, and then he drank a quarter gallon of water after the kerosene, and then he had like a little trash can set up with paper in it, and he lit a lighter and like on cue spit out the kerosene to light the fire, to like hit the lighter, and blew up and lit up the trash can. So all this kerosene like regurgitated it out of his stomach and like spit it out onto the fire. Let it burn for like 5 seconds, and then he spit out all of the water he drank and put out the fire on Conan's
Like,
desk.
how do you separate that?
I don't know.
know.
That's
It's like he put surgical compartments in his stomach.
Yeah.
And then you can control those compartments.
Yeah.
Well, can kerosene and water mix at all? Or is it like
It
oil
might
and
be like,
water?
yeah.
If it's a density thing, then
It
kerosene
makes
would have
sense.
to be
But then how would you get the kerosene out first?
it would
If
have to
went
be
in
a
first?
lower density than water.
Well,
So it's at the
oil
top.
floats on water, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, duh.
So if it could be less. Again, I don't know.
Yeah, but that.
Kerosene might be less dense.
But you
than
think that would hurt? Like, he drank the kerosene first. Like, wouldn't you drink the
Yeah.
water first if
Yeah.
the kerosene's lower density?
water. Yeah, and even that's still insane that you can
Yeah.
even still
On cue.
regurgitate the higher density or the lower density stuff in your stomach,
Yeah.
keeping the other.
And you would think that, like, and he didn't shoot out, like he did not shoot out as much as he drank, was the weird part. It's like,
yeah.
there's still definitely some kerosene in his stomach after that.
Yeah.
I don't know
Well,
how he took care of that.
Kind of similar to this. There's this guy who would have a really small amount of bleach every single day, and then slowly step it up. And he made himself immune to bleach, so he could literally take like full cups and just drink it, and just be like, "Yeah, I'm good."
It was like My Strange Addictions.
Yeah,
Oh,
I think
So
it was
the guy who drank Febreze or
yeah.
the
Yeah,
chick?
That was
too.
probably that was one of the first ones I
Yeah,
saw. It
like
was
it's similar that you just
disgusting.
small little bit, and then your body just kind of gets used to it enough to make you sick a couple times. It start fighting off, get used to it, and used to it more. And then so you step it up after a long time, you're just like, "Yep, water."
Whatever.
Kerosene.
Yeah.
Kerosene.
I wonder what it tastes like.
I don't want to find out.
Yeah, really, I'm
Neither.
good.
What do you think would be the like coolest thing to like get an immunity to? Like that would actually be kind of practical.
To like
Practical?
ingest.
Yeah, like bleach is a cool party trick. Like you could almost. I don't want to call it a party
Party
trick. That
trick.
sounds so terrible, actually. But like, what do you think the next best thing would be? Like
Probably just-
gasoline.
Poisons.
Yeah, I guess
I
any
mean,
poison.
Nobody can really.
Yeah, just straight up poison would be.
Well, what do you
pretty-
mean? What do you mean by that? Poison, like
I don't
What,
know.
Cyanide, maybe.
Yeah,
I feel like
Something
that's
basic.
Zyklon B.
the only thing is like that's not like common though.
Yeah,
If
Like,
you live like in
You'll
an
never,
area,
you won't be able to use that much.
bleach is probably like the best thing.
I kinda
Poisonous,
think,
but most
yeah.
common thing.
Like bleach is just because like everyone has it. Like you could easily do that.
I know what I would choose. Milk.
Dude, why have you done that already? Honestly,
I mean, I'll eventually phase out of it. It's not. I've started to.
7 years.
7 years. I just came to my mind.
We talked about before, like how your body kind of like it's not. I think proven like there's a set number of years where everyone's body like resets. Like your taste buds change, your likeness, things you like, things you dislike, and like we think it's all true. We talk about like it's so true. Like we've noticed there's a point in our lives where we just flipped and like yeah, like this
That
stopped
ain't
happening,
bad.
this started happening.
Like I hit 14. I liked mustard.
Yeah.
I'm scared to
I hit
turn
like
21.
14, 15.
Never.
Loved onions. Started getting poison ivy a
it's
bit.
one of the like
Getting hay fever.
one of the guys I watch who does stupid food challenges. Used to not be able to eat a pickle.
Yeah.
Just started randomly eating pickles. Like,
Just out
bro,
of the day, like, wow, these are good.
randomly is like, this ain't bad. This ain't that bad. Like, I don't see what I was like being such a wuss about, but whatever.
I don't like pickles.
I don't either.
And I
Disgusting.
haven't.
What?
The people that can just eat them out of jars.
Yeah.
Like
Like
French
my,
fries.
my brother, dude.
That makes me want to vomit.
Yeah, it's gross.
My brother will have like pickles for dinner. I'm like, bro, I'd rather have a deep breath for dinner. Imagine that's probably what David Blaine was thinking in his glass box. Deep breath for dinner.
Deep breath. For the next 7 days. Or what? The box? No, the 40
Next
days.
43 days. God. I couldn't imagine.
Could not.
I just couldn't imagine not like crapping for.
Yeah.
Oh my! I didn't even think of that.
Because he didn't have to. He's not eating anything. He drank 2 liters of water a day in that glass box. But
Doesn't your body have like natural flush?
I mean, if you kind of like,
Slightly, but
I guess he
you're-
takes a crap before he starts, and you're kind of good. But again, you kind of would want to store some crap in your body because it like your large intestines still take nutrients out of
it'll
your.
keep sucking it.
Yeah.
For everything it's got.
So you just held it in, bro. Dude, yeah, I'd be so constipated.
Are you going to talk about that story where like he gained a bunch of weight and lost it in a real short time? Is that
Yeah.
on there? Okay.
Yeah, so the next thing I was going to get into is pretty much over his life, he has gained and lost the weight of 6 grizzly bears. And so when I told you the numbers were a little bit higher than I thought they were, but pretty much it was like 10 days, he was able to gain 80 pounds
It's ridiculous.
and then proceed to lose that 80 pounds over the next 10 days. So 20
grizzly bears.
Well, over his life, he's gained and lost the weight of 6 grizzly
I believe
bears.
it. If you don't eat anything for 43 days, you're losing
He lost 60
90 I was
pounds
gonna say,
over
you're
that
probably
40
losing
days.
60
Hefty.
pounds.
Yeah.
That's a
And then he's
lot.
probably going to gain that back. And he's probably done a whole bunch of these
And
stunts. And he
then
probably
some.
trained for
Yeah.
that multiple times. So he's had multiple fluctuations. I could see it. But that's a lot
That's
of
like
weight,
over his
but-
life, but he gained 80 pounds in 10 days, then lost 80 pounds in 10 days.
That's insane. I just like the 6 grizzly bears. It's an American metric, like football field length. Who cares
About 9
feet
football
and
fields
inches?
that way.
Pounds.
Turn east to the sun. Then I got one more thing on here. Over his lifetime, he has eaten 30 pounds of glass.
Glass?
Glass.
Purposefully.
Yo, is this man the Grinch? Like, for real?
Yeah. It's pretty cool. Like one of the clips always comes to my mind is he was with Jeff Bezos, showing him a card trick, and he's like, "All right, Jeff, shuffle this deck for me," like in the middle of the card trick, and Jeff hands over his wine glass. He takes a bite out of it and just swallows it right down. And Jeff's like, "What?"
Nice.
But that's pretty much all I got on this man. Like, this is a man that
He's
Chuck
not really
Norris
a
is
man.
scared of.
Yeah. Like, he seems like
That's not a
there's
man.
something different about him.
Yeah.
Definition of built different.
Yeah,
Literally.
really.
Absolutely.
I read a YouTube comment and it said something. It's like, security needs to protect this man from himself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, could you imagine being his bodyguard? Getting paid to pretty much watch him.
Even though he can't be
Destroy
killed.
himself.
Yeah.
Like, people could come up to him and just,
Indestructible.
like, shoot him 5 times, and he'd just be like,
Is that it?
ow.
If Deadpool was a person in real life.
Really?
He gets shot in the lung and be like, okay, I got 17 minutes to get to the hospital.
Yeah. Like, I could fix this. And I still got one lung working, so he probably has like 30 minutes. He's like, yeah, it's fine. I'll shut off my other lung because I can do that in my
Yeah.
body, I'll just not use the other one that's broke.
All because he had asthma. He's like, oh, I gotta
Yeah.
prove him wrong.
Gotta prove the haters wrong.
Yeah, but he has a lot of good inspirational quotes and everything. Recommend he did a TED Talk with obviously the TEDx company, and he got a little emotional at the end, but it was pretty inspirational. Pretty much like, if someone tells you you can't do something, you can do it.
I'm surprised he can be so profound with how much damage he's taken to the head.
Yeah.
Someone probably helped him write a speech.
Oh, for sure.
Had to.
Nah, it seemed like he wrote it himself. Because like I said, it was pretty.
Someone probably helped him, but I bet he
Yeah,
did the majority.
slow.
He put the ideas down, and they're like, okay, let's type it up and make it look good.
They're like, David, that's not a word, honey.
Well, I think it is. I remember telling it to myself when I was buried underground for days.
Underwater.
How would you entertain yourself like that?
It's
You're
probably
just
more
like-
efficient not to and just black out.
I guess.
Sleep and sleep and sleep.
Yeah.
Like I know there's movies that I've seen enough times where I could probably watch it in my head.
Yeah. But then again, you can only do that a couple times. There's a quote he said after he got out of that box, and he says, I've learned more in the past 44 days about the world than I have in the past 10 years of my life. I'm like, what exactly did you
What
learn?
did you learn in
Did
there?
you see God?
Yeah, he probably did.
If anyone in this world or anything is going to be immortal, I would put my money on David Blaine.
Yeah. It's crazy because still, I feel like Harry Houdini is a more popular name than David Blaine.
Yeah.
And Harry Houdini did similar things, but
Harry Houdini
Not
just did it
level.
first.
yeah, he did.
And
it
Harry
first, but
Houdini
not even to
actually
the
cheated
level.
people. Like, he actually cheated his way through stunts. Like, well, you've heard, like, History did a whole, like, segment on Houdini. It was just called Houdini. He did a thing where he jumped off a bridge into a frozen river, all chained up and cuffed up, and he got out. He just had a slit under his foot. So on the bottom of his foot, he cut a little square out, like, so he could peel it back, shoved the key to the locks in it, and then folded it back over. And then when he jumped in, he just reached down, grabbed it, and unlocked, and he was out.
Yeah. I mean, that's a lot of what magic is. Like,
It's
like
just, faking it.
exactly. Like, everyone knows magic. You're not actually
But it looks
doing
good
this.
though.
But it's like whenever I see magic shows, because I know magic isn't real or whatever, I always think, okay, they're not showing me what magic they're doing. They're showing me how well they can hide what they're doing. Like, how easy is it for me to uncover how you're doing this? Or would this make me think, like, wow, this guy is a good problem solver. He's got a good solution to this trick, and I can't figure it out.
Yeah. Or
Like,
he's
that's
just-
what I judge magic on.
Or he's
really.
just very good at lying to you.
Yeah,
and
or like
changing your perception
yeah,
of what's
that's
actually
another
happening.
thing. It's like, wow, he really was able to like control my mind. Really, like, even if he said watch this clock and whatever, and he made it disappear because you took your eyes off it or whatever. Like, that's how I judge magicians.
I feel like magic's just psychology. It's like making them look where you want them to.
Yeah.
While your hands do something else.
Hiding things from different views and
But the crazy part is I've seen some of David Blaine's. I go back to him, some of his magic tricks, and some of them just don't make sense. Like, unless it's fake, unless the person he's doing it to is fake too, which it doesn't seem like that. Like, so one of his scenes on his street magic is he makes a guy pick a card, and he picks the card and everything. And unless that guy's an actor, it's almost unexplainable. So the officer, it's a police officer, picks the card and everything, and he does all this stuff, and he's like, "Is this your card?" And the guy's like, "Oh no," and he's like, "Oh, I usually have to throw the deck on the ground, and then I'll be able to get it." So he like, whips the deck on the ground. He's like, "All right, there's your card." He's like, "Well, which one?" He's like, "Right there, in your shoe." And the officer's like, "What?" Takes his shoe off and like pulls the card out of it, and he's like, "That's my card."
Yeah.
So how else could you do that unless it's fake, you know?
I've seen a decent bit of those, like on America's Got Talent. Like people like make the card appear in random places,
Yeah.
or like they have them sign their signature, and they would have no idea how they would sign it or where or whatever. And then like, all right, put that card in your pocket. And then they do other things, and like 5 minutes later, they like pull it out of their mouths, and
Yeah.
it's that signed card. It's like,
How?
like it makes you think like, okay, he didn't walk over there. It's not like he could have even done the best sleight of hand to pull it
and
out.
gave them a fake card or
Yeah,
something,
like
you know?
there has to be some trick, like some way they were able to figure out how to copy it, or the person was in on it or something.
He did the same trick to Harrison Ford at Harrison's house, and it's the same concept, but he's like, "Look at that apple over there." And Harrison had like a fruit basket that he's always had in his house, and then he tosses the apple to David Blaine. He splits it open, and he pulls out his card out of an apple. And Harrison's like, "How you never been in my house?" Like, "What? Never been in my house before?" It's crazy. You should actually watch it because Harrison's like, "Get the out of here."
Yeah.
He got pissed.
It almost has to be like months of planning. Like
Yeah.
maybe getting in with Harrison's assistant, being like, "Hey, take him to this grocery store. What's his favorite fruit?" "Oh, he gets apples every time." "All right, I'll just plant one
Yeah.
here."
Make sure you grab
Mark
this
it,
apple.
Mark it. So make sure you grab that one. Because I'm going to be doing a trick in 4 days.
4 months or whatever.
And I need to absolutely blow his mind.
There
And
was
then you have to figure out a way to make him pick that card that you planted in the apple or whatever.
Yeah, you have to
And-
force the card to him somehow.
Yeah,
Which is
and then-
probably the easiest part.
And also not let
Probably,
him-
but it would still be difficult, you know, with like
It's got to be hard because he did like the fan out.
yeah,
Like how?
and it's not like you push the card up, and that is
Yeah.
completely random. You know, you never know where you'll go, and then you have to be able to also. He may not have, but get rid of the old card.
Yeah.
Again, they may not search through the deck to see if there's another one still in there or not, but to be safe, they probably would try to find a way to take it. And
I saw one which I can think of no other way to do it unless it was like fake or somehow. But he asked this woman. She was a celebrity. I didn't recognize her and I didn't catch her name. But he asked this woman to think of like a really vivid memory from her childhood and whatnot. And he was like, "And I've never met any of these other people." And then he asked her to type in that word. Like he had said, pick a word from that memory and type in that word from that memory. Pull up a random web page and find a random word. So first then he took her friend and he wrote the word from the memory that she was thinking. It was bunny. And then he didn't show it to her yet, but her friend's like freaking out because she kind of figured like they had that memory together, that moment together. And then he like looked at her really hard and he wrote down the word from the web page that apparently she saw. And then he like showed it to her and they were both exactly right. And she literally started bawling because she was like freaking out so much. I'm like, it's got to be fake somehow, but how? You know, especially like that person's reaction. They start crying, freaking out.
I've seen something that's kind of similar to that, but not really. Like it's much easier. Is people will try to figure out a word you're thinking, and they'll say, like, I'll do an example on Luke. All right, Luke, think of a word. Every question I ask you, I want you to say no. Does it start with an A?
No.
Start with a B?
No.
Start with a C?
No.
D? And then they
No.
go on. I'm not going to do it, but he would go through all of them, and then usually when people tell a lie, they may have a very slight tick or something they do, and then he's like if I would go and I would say P, and Luke would flinch, he'd be like, all right, does it end in an A? And then go through them all or whatever.
Do it again.
And then you figure out, and then you do a couple, and then like, is it pizza? Was it?
No.
Yeah, it was. Yeah.
No, it wasn't.
Luke, we talked about this before the pod started.
Say yes, Luke.
Bro,
Say yes.
I'm on 4 hours of sleep. Yes, we
No,
talked
no,
about
I'm
this.
kidding.
Yes, it was pizza.
But that's basically what they do. They try to figure out, you know.
did have the
they
P
force
part
them
right,
to
though.
lie and then figure out where they told a lie to basically find the truth.
It's hard to describe perfectly,
it's
but
working backwards.
But obviously,
essentially.
I don't think David did
David
that.
asked a couple questions, but they weren't like letter questions or things like that. And it was so weird because it was a long word. I think the word was immeasurable
Okay.
that he wrote out, and he's like, oh, he was like at the M, then he's like, okay. Oh, the way her eyes moved, yep, A, B, and then he like spelled it out. And I'm like, bruh,
Yeah.
this man's seeing things I'm not seeing.
And there's no way to look at someone's eyes and be able to tell what word they're reading.
Yeah.
I've seen something similar to this. There's a movie, like with Will Smith, and it's basically towards the end of it, I believe. They get the super rich guy. They're making bets, and they ask him to think of one of the players on the field. There's a football game that they were at. Pick that number, and some girl will choose the number that he's thinking of. And out of how many options there are, it's almost impossible. And the trick that they used was, throughout that entire day, this super rich guy was taken on a super specific route, and they planted a bunch of stuff that he would see but not really think about. It would just be planted in his subconscious. And I think the number was like 55.
Yeah.
And so he would see the number 55
Like
in a bunch of
everywhere.
stuff, like a chandelier. If you looked super close, there's some of the metal on the chandelier there makes the 5 on his room key card, just stuff like that.
Yeah, he got like room 50.
And so,
and you know, like,
Yeah.
as soon as he has to pick, they just know,
Yeah.
well, this long shot, but are you looking at player 55? And he loses his mind, and it's something that apparently people can do in real life. So
Yeah.
that might have been it.
Yeah.
he might have planted
Just
it.
planted
He might
in
like
there.
like he might have found these two it was 2 girls, right?
Yeah.
2 girls, like, all right, we know that they're on like a vacation around here, and they're most likely going to visit. Like, where did he see? Was it just a random public spot?
No, it's at their house. Because, like I said, they're big celebrities.
Oh, okay, it's 2 celebrities. So yeah, they could have known, like, all right, I'm going to meet up with these 2 celebrities later. I can figure out their entire day, and I'm going to implement the word bunny and immeasurable in all the places I can, like subtly, so that they will like have that in their mind. They'll think about it. So
Yeah.
maybe, but that's still like that's such a
That's a
long
stretch.
shot. That's
Yeah.
such a
Yeah.
stretch.
There was a weird one, too. He did a trick with George Bush. And he grabbed both of his wrists and like started shaking him really hard, and he was trying to distract him because what he was doing is he was taking off his watch. So he was shaking him really hard, and he's like, pick a number 1 through 20, and he's like, don't say it out loud. Got it in your head? And he's like, yeah. And he's like, is it 17? And Bush was like, yeah, it was 17. And he's like, oh, that's pretty cool. And he lets go of him. He's like, that's pretty cool, Mr. President. And he reaches into his suit jacket, and he's like, I got a gift for you. And he's like, that's my watch. And he's like, yes, it is. It was just such a funny sequence.
I think there's some guy on TikTok that does that. He does card tricks, and then at the end of every single card trick, he's like, say the girl's name is Sarah or whatever. It's like, Sarah, did you just see a card trick? She'll say, yeah. Then, do you want your watch back? And they all lose their mind.
Yeah.
Do you want your watch
Like
back?
that's more believable than some of the stuff he did, but still, again,
Yeah.
incredibly talented. I don't know how, but like there are some people that are amazing at what do you call it, deception and
Sleight of hand.
sleight of
yeah.
hand, that they're just able to take people's watches and stuff. Like,
It's crazy that he mastered sleight of hand, and then he's like, all right,
yeah, like it feels like he
now
has
I'm
so
gonna
much
start
time to do
testing the
everything.
limits of my body.
Yeah, like it's amazing that he's like, for me to become that good of a magician,
Smooth.
for me to become that good of a magician, it would take me years and like so long to
He
be
has
that
been
good.
doing it for years, though.
But then again, like during those same years, he has also practiced holding his breath. So he's trained himself to do it for 17 minutes, starved himself for days, because there's no way he didn't do that without training. Like, it feels like he's doing so much stuff. He's not just mastered in
Yeah.
one section. He's mastered in
everything of deprivation. He's like a master of deprivation.
Also, along with
Just human
magic, sleight of
endurance.
hand.
I mean, 44 days in a box is a lot of time to spend working on magic tricks.
Or at least thinking of him, yeah.
Or
But
thinking
he's
of
also
it.
he's probably didn't have stuff with him.
No,
I would say he didn't have stuff to like fiddle with.
he
So
had
I
a
guess
bed
he could
sheet
maybe
and a pillow and his like clothes.
he could maybe think of a way. Like maybe you could just sit there and think
Think of
like,
a
yeah,
method.
that might work to swindle somebody or
This might just work.
Yeah.
How am I going to
But
get this
also-
inside of an
He's
apple?
also making so much money that like, I guess he doesn't have to work. You know what I'm saying?
yeah, that's what he does for a job full
just-
time.
That's
But
his
then again,
career.
he still is a celebrity and still has celebrity duties to like go to big parties and events and do social medias and meet up with people and
Well, all these parties and events, he just
Sure.
works on his.
He practices.
He just practices. Yeah, but I
Practices
mean,
on people.
he's met so many people from this. Like he went to the Lakers facility and did card tricks for him. Did a card trick for Mike Tyson, Michael Jordan, David Dobrik.
And you could make
that's
so. I'm
popping off my head.
thinking about this. You can make so much money if you find like someone that doesn't know about you. Like they'd be like, you know who David Blaine is? Like he say himself, and they're like, no, I don't. He's like, oh, okay, never mind. It's just a guy. Like, and then he goes, I bet you $200 I could stab myself in the bicep and I won't bleed.
Oh yeah, the bets you could make.
And they'll be like, no way, this is gonna be an easy $200. And he just goes, sink, sink. Hand it over. And then people will be like, dang.
It reminds me of a long joke, like one of the longer, like it's a crappy joke, but
Yeah. Do you know it? I've heard a couple of these.
One of those no fun jokes where it just ends.
No,
I know what it is.
you know what I'm talking about? It's the betting one.
It's the eye. It's like, I bet you $50 I
Oh.
can't bite my right eye. And he pulls out a glass
Well,
eye.
he goes. The
I
guy,
know what
old
it
man, gets called down to the IRS office.
Oh, I know this
for
joke too,
having.
yeah. He's getting audited.
He's
Yeah,
getting audited
that's
because
a
he
good- I
has
love this joke.
lots of random bank transactions. I got to get this done. I only have 4 minutes.
Okay.
So he gets lots of. He's down and sitting at the IRS office with his lawyer, and he's like, "Man," the IRS guy's like, "What's up with all these transactions?" He's like, "I have a gambling addiction. I love making bets, random bets." He's like, "Yeah, what kind of bets?" "Well, I'll bet you $1,000 I can bite my right eye."
And dude goes, no way. Obviously,
There's no
the
way.
IRS
I'll take
agent.
that bet. And he's like, "Yeah, you're right. I can't. I can't bite my right eye." And he gives him $1,000. He's like, "All right." Or no.
He bites his right.
Yeah, he bites his
pulls
right
out
eye.
his. He pulls out
Yeah,
his
he pulls
glass
out.
eye
No, he pulled. That's right.
and bites it.
pulls
and
out
goes,
his-
oh man, $1,000.
$1,000.
Then he goes to the next one. And he goes, I bet you can't bite my left eye.
Yeah, double or nothing.
Double or nothing. And then he looks at his left eye and he looks at it's real or whatever.
Obviously, you can see. So
Yeah,
like
he's
glass
not
eye.
blind.
It's not a glass eye. So the IRS saying like, all right. He pulls out his dentures because he has fake teeth. He pulls out his dentures and he bites his left eye. And then for the final one, I think he's like, I bet I can.
I bet you $100,000, or no, I bet you $10,000 that I can stand on your desk and pee into your trash can all the way across. He's like, "No way. 60-something, 70-year-old man, there's no way you can do that."
Yeah.
Too
He
far.
gets up and he just pees all over this man's desk, and his lawyer's sitting there like, "Wow," like just going off, just going off.
Well, and the IRS agent is happy about it.
Oh,
He's
I
like,
remember
yes,
this.
you
Yeah,
lost the
he's
bet.
cheering.
And then the lawyer is
He's
super
like-
sad. He's like, no way. And he's like, why are you so sad? Because
He's like, "Before we came in here, he bet me $100,000 that he could pee all over your desk, and I'd be happy about it, and that you'd be happy about it."
yeah. And he was.
And he was happy
That's
about it.
hilarious.
Yeah, it's a funny
It takes a
joke.
lot of practice to get that joke right.
Yeah, like
'Cause
I-
I
we-
forgot.
Small details.
We
you
stumbled
gotta
through
get.
that one because I don't have it memorized. We all had parts.
We all
and
had
like-
parts of it. I knew it was like an old
think
man at the
I-
IRS
yeah.
office.
I
when
think
you
we
hear
still
it
missed some
perfectly,
parts. Yeah,
it's
if
a
you hear it
good one.
perfectly, it's nice. I think we still missed some parts.
Because it's like 1,000, 5,000, 10,000.
Yeah, I don't know numbers or whatever, but
Or double or nothing.
Yeah.
Or I'll do double or nothing. I bet you can't bite my. I can't bite my right eye or whatever.
Yeah.
And
David could kill if he's like in the middle of the city. He's like, "Yo, I bet I could get a frog like in the next 30 seconds."
Everyone's like,
Yeah.
in the middle of the city, no way. Especially because, like, with he's famous, he has connections. He has people that would easily bet $5,000 on something that improbable. Like,
Oh yeah.
no way you can burp up a frog.
Yeah, and one
Like,
of the,
I'll easily put $5,000 on that because $5,000 isn't that much to them. He does it. Easy $5,000.
Yeah.
Like, no, there's my pay for the day.
exactly being a celebrity. What are the chances they've seen all of his tricks?
Yeah.
Yeah. Really.
So,
unlikely.
you want to hit him with the outro?
Well, I know this episode's gonna be a little short, but thank you guys so much for listening to this episode. Make sure to go check the socials: Instagram at speaking_sporadically, TikTok at speakingsporadically.
Good boy. They'll both be linked in the description below, too.
That's right. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn on the bells. Don't miss an upload. We're here every week.
Yep. Even though the YouTube algorithm kind of screws us over, promise you we're here. Check in, and we should be posting to remind you guys. But I think that's all I got.
We love you guys so much. Thank you guys for listening again.
Yep.
Catch you in the
Peace.
next one. Peace.
Say bye.
See ya.
Hi.